There it goes. Good enough. Thanks, ma'am. Okay, so you always, a little tip, always begin with a side conversation. Talk about the weather, the computer being slow. And then it's during those conversations. Hi. See. Right now. Awesome. Thank you. Please, I know. She's when she's coming home. Yes. Yeah, we'll get better pictures when after that. It's always. It's a humorous. Beautiful. Listening. Oh, she's beautiful. I'll stay with you are everything. You sure? Sure you just want one? Yeah. So anyone watching on Zoom? Lucy just came in, so that was the interruption. We had to see Lucy and give her a hug, and we got to see a picture of the baby. So good to see you. We miss you.
See you later.
Was exciting.
It was nice surprise.
Yeah, it was a nice surprise. Okay, so you want to be asking them, are you currently in a lease? When is your lease up? That's a really big question because sometimes people will be calling in August and their lease isn't up until the end of December. And so then you have to explain to them, can you get out of your lease early? Because homes that are up for lease right now, most are ready to go right now, and a landlord's not going to hold on to it for that long. So that's an important question. Have you been looking on your own, or have you been working with an agent? Again, a big question to always ask, whether it's leasing, buying, you always want to know if they've been working with an agent. If they only want to lease right now due to that they're moving, because a lot of times people are moving here and they don't know the area, so they want to lease something, school, etc. You can just say, I completely understand, and I'm more than happy to help you find the right place for you. Did you know that even a tenant can have their own agent and it doesn't cost you anything? This particular property, you can say is or isn't still available. If the property is not available, it's important to find out what they're looking for. Bedrooms, bathrooms, schools, pets is a big thing. You need to know, do they have pets? What kind of pets? How many? If it's dogs, you need to know how big and what breed. And if they tell you they have a pit bull, you need to explain to them why that could be an issue finding a property, and that you'll have to, and in that case, I always call the agent prior to showing it. If it just says that they accept dogs, I always call and check and see, will they accept a pit bull? Because aggressive breeds, landlords a lot of times won't take them. So that's a really important question as well. Also, cats actually can be a big thing. There's a lot of people who don't want cats as a pet. We'll take dogs, but not cats. If the property is not available, let them know that you can help them find the right property for them. So they're not having to call around to find out if properties are available. Make sure they know that your services are free at no cost to them. And you might have them say, well, how much is it going to cost? They think that they have to pay you something to find a property for them. And you let them know, no, it doesn't cost anything. You get my services for free. Agents tend to respond to me quicker than they might you. So I'm able to help you out. Set the appointment, tell them you'd like to meet with them to discuss their needs further and view properties. Send an email while on the phone with them to their email address. This confirms their email. Ask for the best number to contact them. So while I'm talking to them, I have a set email that I just copy and paste into my email. And I'm able to just put in when we've agreed that they're going to meet. Even tenants, I do a consultation with. And I schedule a time with them here in the office. We meet. And then I put their email in and I send it. That way, if it bounces back, I can say, oh, gosh, your email was returned. Can I confirm your email again? Okay. So, and again, I always am going to do a consultation even with there's handouts at the back. Do you want a handout? I always do a consultation with even a tenant. I'm also going to send a tenant a blank application, and I'm going to ask them to go ahead and fill that out before they come in to meet with me. And they can either I send it to them and they fill it out online, or they can print it out and fill it out and bring it in. And the reason is on there, it's going to also have on there if they've had any credit issues, evictions, things like that. Also, if they've had any, they've been in jail, convicted of anything. I actually had somebody who came in and he was a convicted sex offender. It was a situation, and he and his wife explained it. He was 18 and it was a 16-year-old girl that he was dating, that the father got upset, all this, but still it was now going to be coming up on his record. So I needed to know that for when I was looking for properties for him, so I could explain it to the agents, because you'll have agents ask you. You don't want to be that agent that gets the call from the other agent saying, so did you know that they had XYZ on their credit report that are big, and it's like, oh, no, I didn't know that. You want to know all that stuff. So that's why getting that application, and I just tell them leave the address blank and I fill in the address when we find a property. A buyer client with no agent and no home to sell. You answer it and you answer the phone. I'd be more than happy to look that up for you. I'm sorry, could you tell me your name again? And is there a number I can reach you if we get disconnected? You always want to get that information, because there are times you can get disconnected, especially if they're on a cell phone and maybe in the car or something. You want to be able to call them back. Are you looking to lease or purchase? If they say they're looking to purchase, fantastic. It's a great time to purchase. Sorry, this is taking so long. Give me just a minute to pull it up. My computer is ready for a nap. Is this your first home purchase? If they say no, wonderful. Wonderful. Oh, here we go. So have you been looking on your own, or do you have an agent you've been working with? If they say no agent, that's great. We get excited, right? That they say that they don't have an agent. I'm here to tell you that's not necessarily always the case. Sometimes they will tell you they don't, and maybe they do. And they're just calling because they can't get a hold of their agent. So just FYI, just know that's rare that happens, but it can happen. So when you pull up the property, find the neighborhood name. When you put in MLS, find the neighborhood name, and then pull up that whole neighborhood as well. It could. And the reason is because if it's, I'm going to show you that that property is not available. It looks like that one's under contract. However, I know of 3 other properties in the same neighborhood that are in the same price range. So let's say the house is in Willow Bend and it's 750,000. And you see that there's 3 other properties in Willow Bend that are 750,000. I always say I know of, because you want to sound like you're the expert in the area. So I never say, well, let me look and see if there's anything else listed. I always say, I know of 3 other properties. And because I have it right there in front of me. And so then I'll ask them, is 750,000 what you and your lender discussed? Discussed you being comfortable in purchasing? I always assume they've already talked to a lender. I never sit there when I'm over the phone and start automatically questioning, well, are you sure you can afford that? Have you talked to a lender? I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say, is this what you and your lender have discussed? They'll tell you if they haven't talked to a lender. And so if they say yes, okay, great. I would love to talk to you more about what you're looking for in a home. As a licensed real estate agent, I have access to all properties that are for sale, and I can help find the right property for you and your family. That way, you're not having to chase down the listing agent for these properties, and you get your own agent at no cost to you. Let me do the work for you. Okay. So if they say they haven't talked to a lender, then that's when you can then say, okay, great. Well, I'll get you with a lender and you can talk to them. Just want to make sure that you're comfortable with where the payments are going to be, because depending on the area, taxes and things like that can change your monthly payment. If the home is available, good news, this home is still available. However, in this market, it could already have multiple offers, which we've started seeing multiple offers again, right? I'd be more than happy to call the agent and find out for you. There are other properties that I know of in this same area. Notice again, I said I know of. And then again, as a licensed real estate agent, I have access to all properties that are for sale, and I can help find the right property for you and your family. This way, you're not having to chase down the listing agent on the properties, and you get your own agent. Let me do the work for you. Remember, a lot of buyers think that they have to pay you. They don't realize the seller pays you. And you'll get that. They'll say, oh, I don't pay you. No, the seller pays. And then I'll say, I'd like to meet with you in person so we can discuss your home search further. And I can show you more homes that are available that would fit your needs. Would 5 p.m. today or 11 a.m. work tomorrow work better? So I always want to get them in as soon as possible. So if they've called today, my goal is to set up an appointment today with them. If not, tomorrow morning. So I'll give 2 times, but you want to get them in as soon as possible to meet with them and do a buyer consultation. If they told you they're pre-approved for a loan, ask them to bring that information with them. In case we find a home that you want to make an offer on, we need that pre-approval letter. A lot of times that's how you can also weed out the ones that haven't really talked to a lender. They told you they did, but maybe they haven't, because all of a sudden they're like, well, I haven't really talked to them yet. I just know who I'm going to talk to. If they told you they don't have a pre-approval letter, tell them you have a lender that you can call them right now to get them taken care of. It only takes 15 minutes if they want to meet with you first. Don't turn them down. Remember, customer service gets the referrals. Okay, so if they're not wanting to call the lender today before they meet with you, still meet with them. You don't have to go show them 20 homes, but at least do a consultation with them. Okay, you may meet with them and be like, I'm gonna work with this person. You know, he's laughing back there, right? It does happen. There's times you meet with someone, you're like, there's no way I'm working with this person. However, so you don't want to turn them down just because they haven't talked to a lender yet. Just don't go show them a bunch of properties. Typically, if they haven't talked to someone, once you meet them in person and you talk to them and you explain to them the process, then they understand why they need to go ahead and talk to the lender. Same thing, you're gonna send an email confirming the meeting, and then a second email with that MLS listing. However, if it's available, however, I only send that listing. I do not send them other properties in the neighborhood. So if I know that if there's, 3 or 4 other properties in that same neighborhood, I'm not gonna send them because I don't want them calling those agents. I don't have a buyer rep on them yet. I'm not gonna send them a bunch of houses and risk that they're gonna call some other agents. Always ask if there's any other properties that they're interested in, so you can pull the information on those as well. If they tell you they have an agent, don't just throw them away. Give them the information on the property and let them know that you're an agent that is familiar with the area they're looking. So if anything should happen, where they find themselves in need of an agent, to give you a call, keep their name and number. I got a client this way. There was a lady who called the office. And she actually had her house listed with another agent. She was not happy with that agent. So I told her, unfortunately, there's nothing I can't help you. I can't come talk to you about listing your house. You need to call and talk to that broker first. If things don't work out, here's my information. Call me and I'd be happy to help you. She did that. She canceled the listing. And I was able to turn around and list the house for her. I also had a walk-in that I got that way, that they were trying to buy a house. And the agent that they had been working with was not showing them what they wanted to look at. And the guy's mom said, go find a Keller Williams office. And so they had driven by, they saw this, I happened to be on phones, they walked in, again, they had a buyer rep. They had to go talk, I couldn't tell them what to do. I said, you're gonna have to go talk to that agent and that broker. And I said, if things don't work out, here's my information. And they came back and they bought a house cash. They then turned around 3 years later, we sold that house for even more than they bought it for. They bought a $500,000 house. I also sold his parents' house in Las Colinas and his brother and sister. That was all.
What
Yes.
happens when they cancel the listing with the one agent? Don't they have a certain period that, like 30 days or something?
So it depends on how their listing is done. So if you find out, if you put it under contract and somebody comes back to put an offer on it that looked at the property when it was under contract, then you would have to get, then they'd have to go back to that broker and find out what was the coverage. Like how long was that, it was the protection time on any showings, like did they have it for 30 days or things like that. But that's only if it's somebody who already looked at the property when it was listed before. And if that happened, that's also a good time to go see Bob. Bob's always a good answer for dates, but yes, yeah, they have a listing agreements have a protection that you put in a number of days for protection period. So if the listing cancels, then, but if somebody who looked at it when it was on the market before comes back and puts an offer on it, that's it. Buyer with a home to sell. I'm happy to look that up for you. So sorry, my computer is going a little slow. Do you currently own a home or are you a first-time home buyer? They say they currently own. That's great. Are you currently working with an agent to sell your home? If they say no, great. Do you currently live in the area? Start a short conversation of where they're moving from, whether it's that they live here or they live somewhere else. Then go into your buyer, shouldn't say script, I should have changed that to conversations. We don't use scripts anymore, about the home and other homes you know of in the neighborhood. You mentioned you also have a home to sell. However, you aren't working with an agent at this time, correct? They say correct. And speaking with your lender, do you need to sell your current home before purchasing a new one? Again, I'm assuming they've already talked to their lender, right? And if they say yes, not only do I work with buyers, but I'm also a listing agent. This is a great market for sellers as well as buyers. Have you started thinking about selling your home? I'd be happy to meet with you and discuss the sale of your home. And we could also discuss your home purchase needs further. What time is better for you, 12 PM or 4 PM today? That's to go do a listing appointment, okay? So if they're calling and they're asking about that, and you know that they're gonna have to sell their house in order to purchase, well then, that's a great way to try and get both. If someone calls, I can tell you this as well. I had a client that she called looking for a lease property. I showed her a couple of lease properties. She said I was the only, and I knew that she had a home. However, I also knew that she was going through a divorce. So I didn't even tackle that. I thought, you know what, she'll talk to me about that. You know, you have to look at you have to know, this is when the listening comes in, and you have to know what they're telling you. And she'd already told me she's going through a divorce. So I wasn't gonna push anything on the house because maybe the ex-husband was gonna stay in the house, you know? So I showed her lease properties, formed a great relationship with her. And she told me, she said, we're going to sell the house. And when we do it, I'm telling my husband, you're listing it. She said, I was the only agent who did not push every time I met with her to go meet at the house and do a listing, talk to them about listing the house. But that's because, and I told her, I said, well, that's because you didn't say that you were needing to sell the house. You called saying you were looking for a lease. And I said, that's great if you want me to list a house. I said, but that's not why you said you called. This is a different situation. This is someone saying that they're going to be selling their house as well. So it's okay to have that conversation. However, if somebody calls and they're just looking for a lease or to buy, and even if they own their house, don't constantly push to do a consultation because that could throw them off. It did with this lady, and I ended up selling their house. I helped her find a lease, the husband find a lease. They're both buying this summer. So I'll get another 2 transactions out of it. So always make sure you're listening to what people are telling you and what they're looking for and what their situation is. If their current home is on the market and is a local listing, ask them if that agent will be assisting them with the purchase of a new home. If they say yes, then provide them with some general information. If they say they want to see the property or are asking for more specific details, ask for their agent's information and let them know that you'll follow up with their agent once you have gathered all the information. That's really important. Don't go stepping on toes with another agent, because as many agents as there are around here, it's still really small, and you'll suddenly run into that agent and she'll be like, oh yeah, you're the one that tried to sell my client's house. So no, it's just a very small group of people, even though there's thousands and thousands of agents. The other thing is just because they say their house is for sale and it's here in the DFW Metroplex, don't assume that agent is going to be helping them purchase a house. I had one that they had a house that was listed in Las Colinas. They were moving to Frisco. The agent that listed the house said she didn't work Frisco and she was not going to drive to Frisco. Okay, that's fine. They were buying a $700,000 house. Sure, I'll take it. You know, so, but their agent, she wasn't going to help them. And they came in and met with me and signed, they didn't have a buyer rep with her, and I confirmed with them again, and they said no. She said she's not going to work in Frisco. So don't blow that off either. If they say their house is listed by another agent, just confirm with them, is that agent going to be helping you? And if they say yes, still don't blow them off. Just tell them, what's your agent's information? Let me get some more details and I'll contact your agent with the information. And then do it. Get the information, call the agent and say, I want to let you know your client, Jim Bob, called my office today asking about 123 Smith Street and wanted some additional information. They said they were working with you to purchase a house, and I told them I'd get some additional information for you. That'll go a long way too. You want agents to say, oh my gosh, that agent was wonderful. I had someone who called their office without me knowing it, because here's the thing, guys, I guarantee, and Peggy can probably attest to this too, you're gonna have clients who they've probably called a sign and asked for information, even though you were probably just with them that point. They're driving through the neighborhood and they see the new signs go up. So you want to be that agent that gives the good customer service. You want to be known as a seller call. Tips: when a seller calls, set the appointment as soon as possible. Typically, they're not interviewing agents. That's why they've called or they've walked in. They don't know anyone. Or their agent that sold them the house never kept up with them. And so they don't even have their information anymore. Same thing, I've sold a house, the same situation. The people moved here from England. They were moving back to England. Their agent never kept up with them. And so they needed someone to sell their house. Find out the reason for moving. Are they moving locally? Treat like any referral that calls to list their home. Get the information up front that you need. Make sure all parties will be at the appointment. So whoever is going to be on the sell of that house, so if it's a husband and wife, even if it's a divorce situation, make sure that they're all going to be there so that you can go through the house with them, talk to them about it, things like that. If it's a situation where person has passed away and it's children that are selling it, make sure they're all going to be there. This was a lot of things that you have to go over with them. Walk-ins: have pad, pen, and business card and an IMES, the information about brokerage services. Print one of those off and take it with you. Ask one of the girls up front if there's a conference room you can step into for a few minutes. Find out their needs. If there's a particular property, go ahead and pull it up. See about setting up an appointment to come back or set up a listing appointment. If they can only meet at that specific time, don't turn them away. Step out, let the front desk know, and then conduct your appointment. So you'll just let the front desk know, hey, these people need to talk to me for a few minutes. I'll be in here. And so the front desk knows that that's where you're at. And then they'll forward, they can even forward calls to your cell phone if needed. So if somebody says, no, I can only meet right now, don't turn them away. Following up, send a personal email to let them know it was a pleasure speaking with them. And here's your contact information. If they have any questions, remind them you'll be sending a couple of homes and also setting up, you can set them up we used to set them up accounts. Send them an email with the listing. Call that evening to make sure they received your emails. Okay. Follow up and make sure, call or even text. Make sure, hi, this is Jaelyn Whorton with Keller Williams. It was great talking with you earlier today. I sent you a couple of emails, one confirming our appointment for tomorrow at 4, and another with the MLS listing on the property you called about. I wanted to make sure you did receive those. So always follow up with them. Again, it's customer service. These are so here's an email for confirming the appointment. Okay, so that's what I have on my computer, and I just copy and paste it while I'm on the phone with them. And that way, and I send it, that way if it bounces back, I can say, oh, I just sent you an email and it bounced back. I confirm your email address again. Okay, so I make sure and send that. Again, I always send that when I'm on the phone with them. Questions? Comments? Peggy, you have anything to share?
Just that a lot of times you may say it all the time, you do not get a phone call. You're not the only one, but it is a time that you can do some other work, organization, or just looking on MLS for other clients, getting ready, using the printer. So, it does get discouraging at times, but I just say don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up. Just because you sign up one time and the phone never rang all 6 times, Don't say, well, I'm not doing this ever again. Keep doing it. I can tell you my experience in my year. So I started here in 2012. This child over here was 6 months old when I started. So hard to believe. And now it's going into 6th grade. But I can tell you that majority of the years that I've been here, on phone time, I've averaged $1 million in GCI. So that's pretty good. Think about that. What would that do for you? So there's things you can, like Peggy said, there's things you can do sitting at phone time for your business. At Christmas, I used to sit there and do my Christmas cards or, you know, any mailers I was sending out, things like that. You can send out email, prospecting emails. Peggy mentioned going through MLS and, you know, if there's an area you're farming or anything like that, go through and see what's going on. Set up searches. I have searches set up that are for like my farm areas that I get daily notifications. You can go in and look at those. So use that time. Yeah.
I was just gonna say something else.
Yeah, go.
And I was gonna say.
I'm here at the office in the training rooms.
And Jaelyn's been doing it a lot longer than me, but we are, the few that have been doing real estate.
Okay.
That are.
Let me look.
And it's not just because we don't have anything to do.
Yeah.
Because we believe in the process.
Yeah.
You know, I've had several walk-ins in years. I've had 4 walk-ins for listing. And, you know, I've had buyers, and so good things do happen.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I've had stellar months. You know, before, and then I've had 0 months, you know, I just would be real transparent, but I'm not gonna give up on it.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the thing, is that's true. You're gonna have a lot of months that you're not gonna get anything. And then you're gonna have stellar months. And then you're gonna have the ones like my one walk-in that the agent was not helping them and she was very pregnant and they needed to find something. And he's like, you know, my grandfather gave us cash to buy a house. And, you know, this agent's just showing us stuff and saying there's nothing in our price range, because at the time they were like 175,000 and they wanted Plano. I found them something when they came back the next day. I found them something that day. We were under contract that weekend and we closed in 2 weeks. And then I got 4 more transactions out of it
Here in my email.
that were all
Or
added up to almost $2 million. So there's definitely, you can make the money. A lot of people get discouraged. They think all it is leases. And you can't think like that. It's all a mindset thing, right? You can't just think, oh, it's just a lease. Well, no, just a lease is going to put gas in your car. It's going to keep you going. Maybe you can turn that lease into a purchase. They might have referrals, things like that. Again, always remember, many times agents have that mindset of, oh, it's just a lease. I'm not gonna do anything with it. Don't be that agent, be the agent that gives them the information. Yes.
Sometimes when I try to make money, I ask them to be as a spouse, but they don't want to come along. It happens when close.
Okay, so if they come and it's a buyer and they don't have their spouse, that's fine. Just ask them when you go to do showings, ask them if the,
From your email.
Yeah, so you would have gotten an email.
just ask them,
Sorry.
just ask them if they are going to
Yesterday.
be able to make decisions without.
I tried to sign in.
Make the, check and see if they're gonna be able to make those decisions, because if they're not, then you wanna make sure that they,
Here it says Dr.
Make that decision.
Here it is.
Now, if it's selling, if they're selling the property, then you want to make sure that, you gotta have those property. You have to have all people that are part of selling the property need to be there. And that's because that's a legal thing. They've all got to sign it. So you can't just have one person sign. And when they're buying, whoever, if I've had somebody who says, oh no, my husband and my wife will also be the deciding factor, okay, well then we need everybody to be there. Like,
Yeah.
the only time I've ever shown people separately and then together has been, I had a client that was moving here. We've had clients moving here from out of state and maybe the spouse is already here. And so I'll show the spouse and then maybe the other spouse comes on the weekend. And then we go, so we kind of narrow down the list of houses. And then we just show the spouse those houses they picked out. But otherwise, they've all got to be there. You can see. So, what other questions, comments, concern? Everybody's gonna sign for fun time.
There's still openings for July.
Yeah.
On phone, I'm hearing and signing up.
And by the way, if you can't make phone time, you just call, you can either, if you know far enough ahead of time, you can go in and just remove yourself from the phone time. If it's day of, like you wake up and you're sick, you can just call the front desk, and because there's people that have signed up, and I think Peggy's on there too, I'm on there that we can fill in.
Phone time is like, when they call Keller office up here.
Yes, phone time is here. It's at the cubicle. When you come in the front door, go to the right in front of the desk, and it's that cubicle right in front of you. That's the phone time desk that you sit at.
Finds only up your boss, just sit over there for a few
They
minutes.
call the office and then the office transfers it to the phone time desk.
I didn't know what was phone time.
Yes, yeah. So you just go into the Keller Williams intranet and go under resources, and there's phone time on there, and you click on that and you get up to 6 times a month.
Okay, so you can just sit there and wait for, how many hours you have to sit there for?
So it changes times, 9 to 11:30, 11:30, 2 and 2 to 4, Monday through Friday. And you get, like I said, you get the phone call when somebody calls, you get that, and you get the walk-ins. Yeah.
You have to go to Keller Williams,
Should have just said that.
like KW company.
Yes, into the intranet. In there,
Chris, Sam, she didn't, she hasn't said.
But it's definitely something that can help build your business.
When you-
And it's free, because you're not having to pay for, you don't pay for those fees, you just pay in like you do on any other transaction, so. You know, like Peggy said, we keep doing it because we know we've gotten enough business through the years from it that it's, why would you not do it, you know, so we still do it.
Money's money, right?
Money's money. Money's money. Well, thanks for coming, guys. I have no idea how to turn this. Go up front and get Miss Caitlin and ask her to, I can't figure out how to turn off the.
Combine all PDFs.
Yeah.
In one file and then download.
These leases are usually leased for the homes and all that.
The
Lease-
what?
Lease of, the one is a lease, is usually the quote.
Uh-huh. Lease for homes,
MLS, we can find those homes for lease too, right?
yes,
It's not only for sales.
yeah, just like for sale, you go to residential lease. And MLS. Yes.
Does it take money?
So that's what I was telling him, to go into, when you go into the KW, like you're going into command, you're gonna go into the intranet and you go into resources, market center, intranet and resources. And then it'll say